I don't think it's a big surprise that Metroid 2 isn't remembered as fondly as the next game, or even as the first game is. Although flawed, fans and onlookers alike seem to have some respect for the first game, respect that the second game doesn't get despite its improvements. If you thought this was going to be a video in defense of Metroid 2, well, no. This game isn't bad, but without a doubt, this is the weakest mainline entry in the series. I did end up enjoying it more than the last time I played the game, but once you hit that second third, the game starts to hurt? I don't know, it just isn't as tight from that point on. So this game being on the Game Boy isn't really a big deal at this point, but I'd imagine that putting a sequel to an NES game on a handheld would have made some people upset back in the day. It also took some time to come out. The original came out in 1986, and this one was out in 91. I really hope this doesn't become a trend. That being said, the Game Boy is often thought of as a portable NES, and it's honestly pretty comparable to the first game in terms of technical limitations, which is both an impressive thing and also a bad thing because it's 91 and this plays like a game that came out in 86 basically. Graphically it's a bit better, but with the setback of it lacking color. Kind of. I decided to use the color palette that you would get if you plugged this game into the Super Game Boy, a Super Nintendo add-on that let you play your Game Boy games on a TV with color. Some people aren't the biggest fans of the tealish green backgrounds, and I do agree that the black background does look better, but I mostly like these colors. Screen size wasn't that big of a deal for me, except for a few parts towards the beginning of the game where I really wish I could just zoom out a bit. I mentioned improvements, and most of those are to Samus herself. First of all, look at this! I start the game at full health. Yes, that's an improvement from the last game. We can also crouch so we can actually hit enemies that are on the ground, and I can shoot downwards while I'm in the air. Beautiful, fantastic changes. Nothing but good things so far. We also start with the Morph Ball and missiles right from the get-go, which makes dying a lot harder this time around. Oh my god, we actually have recharge stations and save points. The recharge stations are divided into health and missiles. In some areas you can find them really close to each other, but in others you're mostly gonna run into health and that's it. I do think they should have increased the amount of these that are spread out through the game. In the second to last section of the game, there aren't any of these things, meaning that I have to travel all the way back to the previous area to get a refill, or I could just grind a bit. This was the one point in the game where I actually grinded, and it didn't take long at all, since I was getting 20 health back from this guy, so sometimes it's actually more beneficial to grind instead of backtracking several tunnels. This game is a lot more forgiving than the last, as you could probably tell. Not just because of your starting situation being more favorable, but because the enemies don't hit nearly as hard. There's also less of them. At least it feels like there's less of them. Last time I said that the enemies were pretty unremarkable, and the problem unfortunately persists here. They seem to be going for this theme where you can only hit certain enemies from certain directions. The problem is that it isn't implemented well. I don't mean the idea, I mean the enemies themselves. Here's the perfect example of this. You see this guy? He is the only enemy of this type in this area. Just the one. Why? It just feels really bare, and it's almost like they placed the enemies at random. The game does make up for this with the Metroids, but I should get into the story first. Before that, let's talk about knockback though, because it's pretty crazy in this game. It's even worse than it was in the last game. Multiple times. If I just don't press any direction or try to move out of the way, I can just continuously get juggled by a single enemy, which is ridiculous. So after the events of the first game, the Galactic Federation sent a research ship to planet SR-388, the planet where the Metroid was found last time, to make sure that there are none of them remaining on the planet, because they are very, very dangerous. In true sci-fi horror fashion, the research ship sends an emergency notice which causes the Federation to send a search and rescue party that is never heard from again. Then a special forces team was sent to the planet, and they were also never heard from again. Not wanting to send more of their men to their death, they call upon Samus to destroy the remaining Metroid that they assume is still on the planet. And that's the name of the game. You have a Metroid counter on your screen at all times, and your job is to find them and take them out. The mission isn't to save the people that were previously sent onto the planet. The mission is to take out the Metroids, because the people that were sent out are presumed dead. I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people that review this game will say that, oh, she went down to save the rescue team. No, the Federation assumes they're gone, which is really sad, but that's the truth, at least according to the manual. Remember how the Metroid was the most dangerous thing in the last game? Well, now this time it's even more dangerous-er. Turns out the Metroid we know from the last game is just their larva state, and they will mutate into different, more powerful forms. The Alpha Metroids are pretty easy, they just kind of fly at you. Yeah, Metroids are way less deadly once they mutate the first time. Imagine that. Gamma get a bit bigger, which makes them easier to hit, but they also can shoot lightning at you. It's more like a sword swing, it's kind of goofy. Zeta Metroids are a bit more aggressive, but are stun-locked very easily by shooting missiles at them. The Omega Metroid is the hardest, naturally, and will take a bunch of missiles to wipe out. That is, if you shoot them from the front. What you want to do is hit them from the back, which isn't as easy since they're always moving. You can off-screen these guys once you find them. They kind of stick to the screen in a very weird and obnoxious way, so getting behind them is no easy task. They are the most dangerous thing in the game and are not very fun to fight. I really do like the reveal though. At first it seems like you have to kill only one Alpha Metroid to get to the next area, but then you see that you're now blocked off by lava. So you then go back and boom, there's another one here. When I first heard of this game, I really did not like the fact that the Metroids would transform into these other versions, because it really felt tacky. Like, it's like, oh, this thing that was like the most powerful thing in the last game, well, now it's even more dangerous. It's like, okay, it's transforming, something that we didn't know they can just do now. Like, okay. This seemed kind of like jumping the shark-esque to me, but it's kind of grown on me. It doesn't really bother me as much as I just see it as a normal thing. I don't really know if that's because I've seen that it's not as tacky as I used to think, or I'm just used to it, honestly. But yeah, it doesn't bother me anymore. As a matter of fact, later in the series, it's kind of cool, but we'll get to that later. Not in this review, I mean in like a future review. So the game is broken up into different areas with a certain amount of Metroids. If you hit pause, you can see the amount remaining in said area, which is nice. Once you take them all out, lava blocking off the next area will move. For some reason, the Metroid's life force is tied to the ecosystem of this planet. This means that the game is much more linear than the first one, which is something that most people bring up as a negative, but honestly, I don't think this Game Boy game with a very limited screen size would benefit from a non-linear structure. Like last time, I played this game with a map on standby. Probably not as crucial as it was in the first game, but I'd still recommend using one. You could figure things out on your own relatively easily, but I don't think that would really enhance your gaming experience by much. Or at all, really. So you might have noticed that I haven't really been editing in music like I usually do. You want to know why? It's because there is none. There is one adventure track at the beginning, one more mysterious track, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is that.
What is that? What even is that?
Look, I can appreciate a more subtle, even experimental soundtrack as much, hell, even more than the next guy, but damn, do those sounds get annoying. They are a bit different in each area. I believe the one that gets used the most is the one that plays in Area 3. I've heard people say that it's trying to give the game ambience. No, that's not ambience. Like, at all. I don't know if these beeps and boops are meant to like trick me into thinking there's an enemy nearby, but that's what ended up happening in my mind. There are some parts of these tracks that I think are interesting, but it's not enough to carry the whole thing. Massive downstep from the last game. Like I said, we get missiles and the morph ball from the get-go, but what else do we get along the way? Well, like last time, we get bombs that we can use in morph ball mode, which you can actually use to bomb jump now. Not that it's really needed though, except maybe here at the end. The high jump boots and screw attack also return and are as useful as last time. Well, the screw attack not so much, but that's only because there aren't enough enemies on screen like there was last time, so it's just not as useful overall. New upgrade that we get is the spider ball, which lets you press down while in morph ball mode to stick to walls. This is really helpful when climbing and whatnot, though the controls are a bit wonky at times. It's not too bad, but sometimes I have to hit back before going forward, and I don't really know why. Once you get going, if you just keep on pressing the button you were pressing, you will go forward, but if you let go, then you might have to either press up or down, or left or right, depending on which area you want to go, because you'll no longer be on like a vertical part of the wall, you'll be on like a slight indent, so then the game's like, oh, you can either go left or right, not up or down at this point, so yeah, it's a bit annoying at that point. The spring ball lets you jump on morph ball, which again is pretty useful. I don't really like the bounce that happens afterwards though. This will also happen if you just fall while you're in morph ball. You'll always do a little bounce and it's kind of annoying. The space jump, which lets you jump forever as long as you time the button press correctly. The trick is to hit it as soon as you start to descent. I thought that you had to wait slightly before pressing it after you start falling, but no, you can just press that sucker immediately after. Although plenty of times I pressed the darn thing and nothing happened. This is mostly useful for getting to areas in which the spider ball can't because there's some obstacle in the way. This time the Various suit has its iconic large shoulders. This change came about because of the lack of color in the game. Though seeing it through the Super Game Boy palette, it still looks pretty cool. We also get new and old beams in the game. The long beam is no more, or is just given to us at the start depending on how you want to view things. The ice and wave beam return, the ice beam being a bit better than last time since it no longer does damage every other shot, and it doesn't unfreeze the enemy when doing so. And the wave beam is actually viable this time. Look guys, it's the wave beam. I actually have footage of me using the wave beam. I think it's exactly the same as the last version, but I wouldn't know since I never used it in the first game. The two new ones are the Spazer and the Plasma Beam. The Spazer is my favorite because of its spread, but the Plasma Beam is the more powerful of the two, which doesn't really matter much if the enemies are too small to even hit. I'd say stick with the Spazer. Like last time, you change beams by collecting them from these statues, and changing back to previous beams is only possible when returning to the statues. In one of the last areas of the game, all four beams are in close proximity to each other, so you can easily pick your favorite from that point. I really don't have much to say about these areas themselves. Area 4 and 5 are the shortest. Area 9 only has Omega Metroids, but there are only 3 of them, which is still pretty hard. Area 6 has this part. Oh look, an E-Tank! Why? Why is this area, why is it like this? What does this add? I just fumbled around for a bit and I got an E-Tank and it didn't feel satisfied since this is not a challenge, this is just a speed bump. No other area is even remotely like this. What kind of curveball is this, Nintendo? Oh, and the only other boss besides the final boss is this guy, Arachnus? Is that his name? Yeah, I think it's Arachnus or something like that. Yeah, is he a boss? It's kind of weird. He's definitely not just like a normal enemy. I forgot that he was in this game, so this legitimately caught me off guard. You beat him by hitting him with bombs because shooting at him will cause him to go into the ball, and you can't hit him when he's in the ball form, so you gotta use the bombs. So at this point, we're just missing one Metroid and we can go home. Area 10 has this red liquid in it. I mean, I guess it used to be gray, but here it's red. It's not water because water is black. Yeah, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. Metroid urine? I really hope not. Why? Why can't I just jump out of this normally? What is this? What are these random ass curveballs? It just made getting up a bit harder for no reason. I really hope Metroid doesn't start adding these areas to their games where you can't easily get out of for no reason other than to piss me off. That would be a shame, wouldn't it? Once you get out though, you can space jump to the final part of the game and... What was that? Is that an egg? Hey, what's going on? What happened? Why did it suddenly stop? original Metroids! Lucky for us, the ice beam isn't too far away from here. These are a bit worse than they were in the last game because of a lack of the 30 missiles or health they would drop. Here, like the rest of the Metroids throughout this game, they drop nothing. After dealing with the other types of Metroids, it's kinda nice to face off with these ones. They're still aggressive like nothing else and can latch onto you. They aren't as dangerous as the Omega, but they can still kill you if you don't act quickly. After all that, the music kinda gets good, and we face off the Queen Metroid later. Yeah, so since the Metroids don't drop health, you should go back and get a refill before fighting her, unless you manage to take no damage from them, which, in that case, go nuts. You can pause during this boss fight, which is almost like a hidden detail that I really like. It makes it as tense as it should be. Then again, you can also just slink away whenever you want to, so how tense is it really? I don't know. So here's what you have to do. When she shoots these things at you, you screw attack them. Then she lunges at you, you tank the hit like a boss and shoot missiles at her. When she opens her mouth, you shoot the missiles at her to stun her, and then crawl into her mouth, into her stomach, and then let off a bunch of bombs. I got stuck in her mouth for some reason the first time, and I thought that I was just misremembering the part where you actually go into her stomach, and then maybe that was just a thing in Other M. So I ended up just blowing up her mouth on my first attempt, and that didn't do enough damage to take her out, and I ended up dying. The only time I died up to that point. If you do it right though, it doesn't take too long before the battle is over, and you just took out all of the Metroids on the planet. Congratulations. I like this fight more than the Mother Brain one, since this is actually a fight and not a bunch of bullshit. Definitely not as hard as Dark Link though. Once we leave, we run into the egg from before, and a baby Metroid. And it doesn't attack us. It actually follows us around and helps us get back to our ship. The game can't explain what's going on here, but the Metroid mistakes Samus for her mother since it's the first thing she sees. Just like a baby animal that does that. I'm pretty sure there's like a handful of animals that do that. And none of them are coming to mind as I'm reading this. Yeah, that's great. Leave examples in the comments down below of animals that if they see you when they're first born, they just assume you're their mother. So just like last time, if you beat the game fast enough, you get to see Samus without her armor. I didn't do that. So here's a screenshot of someone else doing it, and here's a bunch of AI images of Samus. Don't ask me where I made these. But cool, we just beat Metroid 2. It might have seemed like this review was way more straightforward than my other ones, and that's because that's how this game works. It's very simple, perhaps to a fault. Again, I had more fun than I thought I would have, but it did get annoying in a few areas. Like hearing the same noises over and over again, and not space jumping even though I pressed the button, and getting juggled by enemies because of the crazy knockback. Not a great time. Not great parts of the game. I still had fun though, but I don't think I could recommend this game to most people. It does do some things better than Metroid 1, but overall I think it's a worse game, and obviously the same thing goes for Super Metroid. In that case, I don't think it does anything better than Super Metroid. The only thing that this game really has going for it is the unique aspect of hunting down a thing, which doesn't really reappear in any of the series. What about AM2R and the 3DS game? I'm not reviewing those games. I'm not saying that I won't review those games in the future. I don't really have any plans on doing so anytime soon, but I'm not saying that those games are like, they're not with Jasmine and the others, basically. They're not. They're here in the realm of the living. But I don't think pointing to other games is like warranted when talking about a game, even if those other games are like remakes of the game you're talking about. Because, I'm talking about the game I'm talking about and not those other ones. Well, we have a ranking to get to, though this time we're ranking 4 games. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw in the Japanese version of Mario 2 because I might as well, Which, unsurprisingly, goes straight to 4th place. Yeah, big freaking surprise, am I right? In 3rd, we have this game. I don't know if I would put it under or above the first one. It does things that the first game does, but better, but not everything. Now, this is where the major upset happens. When I first thought of this ranking, I was expecting to say that Zelda 2 was in 2nd, with Mario USA in 1st. But then I actually played Zelda 2. It's so much better of a game than people give it credit for that I wouldn't have expected this at all. I honestly feel bad for Mario because I don't know if he'll ever hit that first spot now. I thought this was going to be at least the one time where he did. Mario USA is a fantastic game, but it isn't nearly as good of a game as Zelda 2 is. And if I were to give the first place to Mario just for like the sake of things being a bit more balanced in the rankings, I would be lying to myself and to you. So that would be unfair and you guys deserve better. So the second ranking is Zelda 2, Mario 2, Metroid 2, and Mario 2 again. Epic. So that's it. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Again, pretty by the numbers game. Kind of, maybe. I did enjoy it, but there just isn't that much to say at the end of the day. How long is this review? I don't know. Probably not very long. So next time, though, we're playing Super Metroid, which is the best. Definitely one of the best. Definitely top 3, no matter who you are. If this isn't in your top 3 Metroid, Super Metroid, you're crazy and wrong. But before then, we're going to review a decent amount of other games. One of those being Minecraft. Minecraft is finally on the way after a 6+ month delay because of the God of War review and then not wanting to play the game after a while. But we're finally on the Minecraft train. As of this recording, I have 14 pages written. I still have to like go over it several times, and I'm gonna be doing that because I want it to be good, just like the God of War review. And then after that, I'm gonna be reviewing Mario 3 and then God of War 2, and then maybe a smaller game in between Mario 3 and God of War 2, depending on how long that video takes, which is another massive project, which maybe I shouldn't be doing as big projects so close proximity to each other. But, you know, it's May. I want more videos out, you know? We're coming close to the State of the Union date, which is like somewhere in July. And, I want to get those numbers up, you know? But anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. The 2024 not ambiguous. Not arbitrary. Obligatory. The 2024 obligatory Angry Canadian shout out. Here it is at the end. Shout out Angry Canadian. I did a stream with him earlier today. That man streamed for 11 hours. That's insane. I wasn't there for the 11 hours. I was there for like a couple. But anyways, peace out. Leave a comment down below. Am I stuck in traffic? Am I in the chat right now? Is chat this way? I believe chat is this way. Who am I pointing out in chat? Is there anybody here? Is this like a sad premiere where nobody showed up? Hopefully not. Peace out. They are a bit different in each area. I believe the one that gets used the most is the one that plays in Area 3. What the fuck is happening? What the fuck? Jesus. That scared the shit out of me. Leon, you fucking jump scared me there.